Hey, this is Lucas Tudor with LT Bass Fishing, and this was a follow-up video to my last video, my top 4 favorite baits. I said I was going to make 4 more videos to show specifically how I rigged those baits, and I'm not going in the first order. I'm going to start today with the Wobble Head. I said this was my third favorite bait, I want to say. Second or third, I don't remember. I use all of the baits so much, and really, when I say they're my top 4 baits, I mean that they're my top 4 baits, but they're not. It's not always that order. I don't go out to the lake and say, well, the chatterbait's number 1, I better start with that, and if it doesn't work, you know, I better move to that one. It depends on what the situation calls for, but those are generally the top 4. I try to make them work, and if they don't work, I just have to adapt, and that's what you got to be good at in fishing, is your mental game and understanding that it's not always going to be how you planned. Anyway, back to the Wobble Head. I said I was going to show how I rigged it. So first off, let me start with saying it's great for craws, a lot of craw baits. You can use worms. Like the ribbon tail I showed in the top 4 baits video, but let me just go ahead and pull out the plastics bag here. All this is plastics. Tons of packets of plastics. It weighs easily 15 pounds, and that's a lot for just plastics. I got a bunch of net baits, a baby pack of craws. There's a better view from the back. I love rigging it with those. Here's some older pack of chunks. These are not very recent ones, but I still like older baits because just different styles work better sometimes than others. Rage tails. These are all great baits. I love using rage tails. I would show you using a rage tail, but those net baits are the same thing. Those pack of chunks, I mean, just a little slight. They're not the same thing, but just slightly different, you know, indentions and cuts on the claws of the craw and stuff. So they're virtually the same, just maybe a little bit different swimming action when the arms hit the water. So I'll just use that and show you. These are some custom baits that I use. I got those from a local tackle shop. You could use something like a rodent. It would rig up virtually the same. I fished the Wobble Head yesterday with those custom baits. These have a squid scent, so it's kind of unique. It's just sometimes stuff that they don't ever get to see very often works best. I also like to throw them on Bass Pro Shops, soft plastic craws. These are older craws. I do make some modifications. You can see here on this bait, I cut off the tentacles right there in between the claws of the craw. I cut them off, and kind of like similar to the pack of chunks. It just depends. This one happens to be more of a red pink on black, and this one's more of a blue on black body with blue craw hands on it. I'll show you how to rig that one up. I don't normally use that as much though as I do that blue though. That blue just always seems to work. You can use tubes, I suppose. Worms always work well. Finesse worms or stick worms. Yeah, I'll go ahead and show you that. You can even use those long ribbon worms, but I don't as much use those. Let me just check real quick here. You want to make sure that you use full size. What I mean by that is this is my box labeled jig trailers. So all of these are either baits that are made naturally shorter than normal, or they're longer baits like the rage craws that I've cut the back off and just prepped them so I can get them on my lures quicker and I won't have to bite it off while I'm on the boat or stuff. It's just already ready to go, and it goes in a box so I can keep them all straight. Plastic bags do that too, but I generally keep worms in my bags. So, for example, here's a full-sized pack of chunk versus a trailer pack of chunk. See the difference? This one's already shorter because while you're fishing a jig, you would have to bite off the back or tear it off or whatever you do, cut it off anyway, so that you wouldn't have it sticking out the back. You don't want it to be sticking out the back of the jig, you know, very far, because it'll mess it up. So these are pre-cut trailers, but for a wobble head, you don't want to use that. So with the pack of chunks or a rage crawl, these are about the same as a rage crawl as far as body style. So there's not much differences. You just find the top, make sure you figure that it's top side up. You see those eyes and everything. Then you'll go in about a 1/4 inch, and you'll go in at a very slight angle, almost straight down, but maybe just a very slight angle. Then you'll run it down the hook and up on the bait keeper. Make sure it's not balled up and it's facing straight up. Then the key to this is what I just showed you, going in a 1/4 inch and putting on the bait keeper. That's self-explanatory. If you know anything about bass fishing, that's obvious. But the thing that a lot of people do is they'll try to stretch them out. They'll just see that when you curve it up, it wants to naturally go in about right here. Right about here. And that, if you try to do that, it would stretch it out too much and you would end up with it falling off the bait keeper and messing up. So even though it's pretty obvious that you need to do the first few things I said, what's not obvious to a lot of people, and it should be, is the fact that you need to straighten your bait out like it would be while it's running in the water. And then you kind of pinch it so you can hold your place. And this one happens to be just right where the crawl starts. So you'll just pull that through. And if you're fishing in heavy cover, you can leave it on top, or you can kind of put it in and implant it. And that's pretty much the same with any of the other baits, the stick worms or the craws or anything. It's pretty much exactly the same. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll